Hey, what's going on? Are you ready? I know you're ready. Welcome to the Saymichael podcast. Welcome. Thank you for joining me on episode number 7 of the Saymichael podcast, one man's attempt at business, family, and comedy. I am your host, Michael Agbajan, and as you could probably already tell, there's a little lag in my voice right now. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's maybe like a light cold or something like that. But 2 days ago, I woke up and my top of my throat was a little bit scratchy. I didn't feel sick. I felt good. It might be allergies. I don't know. And then, later in the day, my voice kind of pretty much went out. So yesterday, this is how I was talking when I was like, man, I can't record like this. Oh, man, I got low. Welcome to the Man, I cannot talk like that. So what I did is I nursed my throat, with some lemon, honey, ginger, tea and different concoctions. And, I'm feeling better. So right now my voice is at about 75%. I have right now on standby my lemon water and honey. That's really good. And then I also have my my throat lozenges, just in case, my throat gets a little coffee, I don't want to get all coffee on you. But yeah, welcome to this great episode. Today I need your help a little bit, because I'm going through a dilemma. And this dilemma is, okay, let me present it. As you know, my primary focus business-wise is the Water Boys. And if you don't already know, if you're a first-time listener, the Water Boys Car Wash is a mobile and on-site car wash service. It's a subscription service and on-demand service where we come to your house, go to your work, and provide you with hand car wash services on demand at your convenience. And for the last 2 years, we've had a contract with Amazon, and we service a lot of their vehicles in Dallas. So we've been doing that for 2 years, and then a year passes, and they said, "Hey, Michael, can you come out to Houston?" And guess what I said? Sure, And if you already know, I'm not sure if you ran a business, in another city, but trying to run a business, in 2 different cities when you're not all the way at scale is really disastrous and dangerous, but I told them sure anyways, right? Because again, in business, you don't really have guarantees. Your day could come at any time. So you pretty much have to get the opportunities as they present themselves. And, we were already doing good in Dallas, and now they present us with an opportunity in Houston. So I said yes to it, So probably for the last year, I've been going back and forth, from Dallas to Houston, taking care of, their vehicles, So I have employees in Dallas, employees in Houston that take care of the Amazon contract, right? And it's, again, very difficult for me. But the dilemma I'm in is that this morning they hit me with an email and said, "Hey, Michael, is there a way that you could, service our vehicles in San Antonio and Austin?" And guess what I said? Sure. I said sure, even though it's almost impossible for us to do this. I'm talking about unless we put it further out, which is what I'm thinking about doing, which is maybe like, I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to make this work, because it's hard enough going outside of your own city, because, the way Amazon sees my business, right? They see it as this is how they see it, as this large, beautiful business. But they don't understand that while it might look like a nice car on the outside, um, it's a nice car, but with the check engine light on. You see what I'm saying? You kind of understand what I'm saying? Nice car, but with the check engine light on. Like this, the business could, bring me from point A to point B, but I ain't bringing this out of town. You see what I'm saying? This ain't that type of business. And so far I have been bringing it out of town, but that's at my own risk. You know what I mean? And before I start taking it all over Texas, I'm going to get that check engine light, fixed. Because, that's how I feel like our business is that it's a very nice car, but with a check engine light on. So really we got our limits, but the check engine light, if you diagnose it right, our issues is really our hiring process, And I'm like, okay, how am I going to hire the right people and not be near them to make sure that they're doing the right job? And not only in what we're already doing now, even locally, but also in Houston, also in Austin and San Antonio. So, that's happening right now. And, I'm going to figure that out. I'm going to figure out how we're going to take care of that. But that's the dilemma I'm in, because right now it's hard to find, not really like good labor, because I don't want to make it sound like we're just looking for workers, you know what I mean? But like great employees, people who take the job seriously. And, when it comes to hand car washing and detailing, some may not see it as the most prestigious thing. So you have to find that special person who not only has a passion for cars, but, somebody that works good in systems and, follows orders and, is consistent. And it's hard enough finding that person just as a friend, as just a regular person in your life, let alone finding them as an employee, So, but I figured it out. But, actually I want to talk to you about, when you wake up, sometimes I'll wake up with a plan, and by the time I go to sleep, I'm laying down humbled, because, the other day, last Thursday, I woke up with a plan, and that plan was, I was, okay, let me kind of, update you on it, that week, it's been raining all week, Monday through Wednesday. So when it rains, mostly like that, when the sun comes out, we're so super slammed. We're so busy. And so this Thursday, it's a beautiful day. Just got through raining. Now it's beautiful outside. And my plan is that I'm wake up, check, make sure everyone's doing their job on top of everything, and then come home, eat lunch, and practice for my stand-up, that later on that night at Backdoor Comedy. And it was a special one because I'm like, okay, I got some friends coming over who are going to come see me. Some listeners of the podcast came, and I was like, okay, it's going to be great. I'm going to prepare everything, make sure everything's good, make sure you put on a nice, good show. And I was humbled. And guess who I was humbled by? If you've been listening, my employee, Kevin. He's our newest employee. And again, it takes about 3 months to get an employee acclimated to our system, right? Like getting them regular to how our system works, because I used to pay my guys hourly, but they took advantage of that. Then I used to pay them as hourly plus commission. They took advantage of that. And the way they took advantage is like, if you put hourly, they take forever on cars, right? It's like every man-made system I put in, they unmade it, right? So that's kind of like what happened. So now most of my guys, actually all of them are commission only, but the commissions are fat, right? 50% plus tip. That's what they get currently. And it's been working out, right? Because on slow weeks, the average pay they would get would be somewhere around like I'll say 400, not bad for a full time. And then on a busy week, they would get somewhere around 1,100, 1,200. So it kind of balances out. So and that's not including tips. So, um, yeah, my new employee, Kevin, humbled me because I woke up with this plan that everything's gonna go smooth that day. And again, he's already had issues of being inconsistent. He's only been with us about 3 weeks at this point, and week one he went hard. Week two did not go hard at all. Week three came back, and I'm like, man, the dust has not settled on this guy. But yes, trust me, the dust has fully settled on Kevin. The dust has fully settled. And what has happened is that, okay, I use an app called Acuity to handle all of our scheduling. So every detailer, they wake up in the morning and they have a calendar. So they log into the app and they have a calendar that says, where they're going to be, what service they're going to provide, like the whole system is within that app, right? So I check this app to make sure everyone's on the same page every night, right? So I check it. Okay, everything was good. Everyone's schedules are locked in. Cool. So that morning, but the downside of the app is that sometimes customers, they schedule an appointment, let's say for 8 in the morning, and then sometime in the middle of the night, they'll reschedule it to another day, and I won't even know. There's no notification or anything like that, which they need to fix, but that's just what it is. So I look at the schedule and I see where everyone's supposed to be. So Kevin being our newest employee, I'm kind of, looking at him to make sure he's on the ball. So he has an 8 o'clock appointment plus other cars or whatever. And I get there in the morning to where his first appointment is supposed to be. Guess who's not there? Kevin. So I call him. It sounds like he's just waking up. And I was like, hey, where you at? We have your car's over here. And he says, oh, I didn't know. I'm thinking, what? How you not know? So I didn't see it on my calendar. So I was like, oh, man. Well, the cars are here now. I'm here now. When can you get over here? He said I could be here in 15 minutes. I was all right, cool. So then he got there, and then I opened up, the app to see, his appointments, and they were gone. The people were rescheduled in the middle of the night, and I didn't even know they were gone. So he came up there a little bit upset at my misunderstanding because, he felt I was coming at him wrong because I'm like, why aren't you here? And he's looking at his calendar and saying, I don't have nothing on my calendar. So why are you telling me that I need to be here? But either way, he came there kind of with attitude, and I was like, hey, is everything all right? And he says, yeah, but he kind of rolled his eyes and kept walking. So then later on, I was like, hey, I just want to be on the same page. I mean, is everything all good? Do you want to talk about something? He's like, I don't like the way you came at me this morning. I said, what do you mean? What happened? He's like, well, you act like I was already supposed to be here for an appointment, and I didn't see nothing on my calendar. And then I explained to him about how people reschedule and I don't see them and all that. And I'm like, hey, it's a big misunderstanding. My fault about that. But, there are cars here now. Let's make sure that we're on top of everything, right? Again, mind you, busy, beautiful day outside. And, he has a full schedule. But the first appointment that he had rescheduled, and I misunderstood that. But he's there. So now he turned around his attitude. He seemed to be all right. But see, the issue is that, a lot of his cars that he's been doing, they have been coming back. They've been coming back as, not so great, right? And customers have been complaining. So, I felt rather than just to leave him there unsupervised, let me kind of be there and let me be a little bit more hands-on. That was my plan. Let me be a little bit more hands-on with him, and maybe I could, see what's going on and why his cars aren't coming out the ways that, that the customers are expecting, so, I'm kind of hovering around a little bit, just kind of like, doing my own thing, cleaning up, just kind of in this area, whatever. And then he finishes his first car, which is an inside out, right? And in that service, it's all outside, wheels, tires, body, and windows, extensive vacuuming, cup holders, dash and trim, trunk clean, door jams, that whole thing, right? Just a full interior and exterior, basic clean. And that service you pay $50 for, right? And mind you, at a drive-through, you would pay anywhere between $7 and maybe $15, but we're charging like 50. So when you are doing that service, you got to make sure it's good, even though it's a basic service. But based on the convenience, based on the standards, and based on it being a hand wash and all these different other type of reasons is why it's at this price. So he finishes the car, and before I even get a chance to look at it, he goes ahead and parks it away from the light. So I said, "Hey, can you park it back?" He said, "Sure," but he kind of had a little attitude like, "Why are you asking me to park the car back when I'm finished?" So he parked it, and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna take a look around, see how everything looks." Said, "Okay, cool." So I look around, I'm seeing door jams filthy, and if you don't know what a door jam is, that's the part between the car and the door. When you close the door, that little foot part where you could put your foot, that's where a door jam is. I'm looking at the carpets. There's like, crumbs all over the carpet. The cup holder is filthy. If you look into the trunk had all these grass and dirt and all that. I'm just like, what? This isn't clean. You know what I mean? So, I look around. I'm like, all right, to me, this car to me personally, looks like a D on a scale from A to F. Looks like a D, because I'm like, if a customer came to look at this, they're going to have major problems because it's not at the level it needs to be at. So then I told him, I said, "Hey, can you take a look around at the vehicle and, in and out of it, and tell me what you would grade this vehicle?" And he's like, "Okay, cool." I said, "Now I'm going to tell you my grade, and then we'll see where we're at." Right? He said, "Okay, cool." So he looks around. I'm looking around too with him. And then, he sees the trunk, sees all the dirt. And then he says, "Other than the trunk, this is an A+." I was like, man. And, me thinking it was a D, I'm like, I'm already going to be nice and tell him it's a C. You know what I mean? So I was like, "You think it's A+?" He's like, "Yeah, other than the trunk, it's an A+." I'm like, "But you have all these parts that are missing." You know what I mean? Like you didn't get this part, you didn't get that part. He said, "Oh man, you nitpicking now." I was like, "Whoa, attitude. This guy has a problem." So then I was like, he said, "What do you give it a grade?" I said, "Honestly, a C+." And he's like, "A C+. A C+." And this is where the strategy went wrong. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have done this whole grade system in the middle of the day or start the day thing, because I already know, if that's his work, ain't nobody trying to hear that they got a C. You know what I mean? Especially when you think you got an A+. You know what I mean? So it's a C+. C+. I bust my ass on this car, man. I'm like, all right, look, I don't want to cause no issues. I'm just saying, if the customer came down, he said, "You always thinking that the customer going to come down with a problem." Like, look, I'm just trying to watch out for you. This ain't about me. I'm trying to watch out for you and make sure that, your work is coming out consistent to what the customers expect. And then he started getting a little bit more upset, thinking that I'm nitpicking when I'm showing him, like, look at the cup holder. There's still dirt in the cup holder. Like, there's still crumbs on on the mats and things like that. And he's just getting pissed off, and at some point, during that, altercation, he gets upset and says, "You know what? You could send me home." I said, "You want to go home?" I said, "Hold on, what's going on?" I said, "You don't want feedback or whatever?" And he's like, "Man, you told me this is going to be a job where no one's going to be on my back, and look at you over here on my back." I'm like, "Well, I could be here, it's like, "Well, why are you on my back?" I'm like, first off, customers have been complaining. I've already, explained that to you. Customers have been complaining about your service. I'm just over here thinking that maybe I was too hands off when it comes to the hiring process with you. And maybe I need to be a little bit more hands on. That's why I'm here." But obviously something's going on when the customers are coming back. He said, "Man, customers ain't coming back complaining." I was like, "They're coming back complaining." I was like, he said, "What customers?" I'm like, "Bro, in the last week, you've had 4 complaints." He says, "Oh, they're being nitpicky." I'm like, "Bro, they don't even know each other. How are they being nitpicky?" And again, this is happening on his first car. And then he starts getting really mad. And then I'm like, "Bro, why are you getting so mad? is it that you only want positive feedback? Is that all you want? You don't want to improve? And he's like, how you like, yeah, everyone can improve, but this car is damn near perfect. And you're over here judging it like it's not at, at the right level. And I was like, man, this isn't going in the right direction. So I was like, look, what do I need to do to communicate better? Because I don't know what's happening right now. And basically, he started getting more and more upset. And I was like, hey, man, is there another issue? And the issue that he really had was the fact that, the week before is that he got a check. Again, this is his second week. And on the second week, he had a 40-hour schedule. He called out 30 of those hours because he had a surprise baby. He told me randomly that he had a baby, and he had to go to the hospital, go see this baby. Okay, cool. Gave him his time. My fault. I didn't know about this baby, but apparently he did. So I gave him that time. And then he said that, he's not ready to come all the way back to work because he has to do skin to skin and lay with this baby in the hospital. Again, I don't want to interrupt that situation. So the 40-hour week that he had turned into like a 10-hour week or even a little bit less, like 8 hours. And, he was upset, like the reason he's upset with all these other cars is that he's upset about the pay that he got for the previous week. And mind you, these guys are commission only. So I said, why are you upset? He said, Mike, so you tell me a whole week I'm going to get paid, $200? I said, you only came in like a few hours. You only did a few appointments that week. And he's like, but Mike, 200? I was like, for a full week? I'm like, you didn't work a full week. And that's when he started getting really upset. I'm like, what are you getting mad about? You didn't do the work. And there's this quote that I heard recently is that, don't get upset, at the results you didn't get for the work you didn't do, and that's important that you have to understand. Don't get upset at the results you didn't get for the work you didn't do. But see, this isn't the first time that this situation has happened to me. This happened to me one other time and I could not understand it, for the life of me, of why people are, get so upset at not receiving something that they never earned. Right. And, there's an employee, I remember this is like in 2014, he's working at one of these locations and I schedule him for, a full week. He calls in the first day. So 5 days, he calls in the first day talking about, he has his high blood, he has high blood pressure. He had to go to the hospital. Okay, cool. Didn't work that day. Second day, he said that he has massive diarrhea, can't come in. All right, not even gonna, hate on that. Third day, he said he had to take his granddaughter to the hospital. He had to miss that day, right? So then he worked 2 days. Then he got his check and he said, hold on. There's a problem with my check. And I was like, what you mean? He says, you told me I'm working, you said you're going to pay me for 5 days, 40 hours. I'm like, well, you called in 3 of those days. He says, but I was trying to come to work though. I said, trying to come to work don't mean you're going to get paid though. You didn't do the work. He says, so what? So hold on. So you want me to risk my health to, for this job? I'm like, I'm not asking you to risk your health. I'm saying that you didn't come in. So if you didn't come in, then what am I supposed to do? Pay for not coming in? He says, so you want me to come in with high blood pressure, then just for this job? That's what you want me to do? I said, bro, you didn't come in to work. So that's what you got paid. You got paid for what you did. I'm not paying for what you didn't do. He quit that day. He threw his shirt on the ground. Man, fuck this job. I said, what you mad about? You didn't come in to work. You didn't work. So again, I'm revisiting the situation. I thought, how can I come back to the situation again in this? I thought I fixed these problems with my hiring process, right? I thought I've been picking people better. But see, this is what I'm here to present you to. This is what I call the signs of an impoverished mind. And if you don't know what an impoverished mind is, it's the signs of a poor-minded person. Those are people that not only do you not want those people in your life, you don't want them in your business, you don't want them anywhere near you. And these people, that come into your business, with impoverished minds, mess up everything because you can't make sense to them, So go back to Kevin. He's upset and he wants me to send him home. So I'm like, are you want to, because about me giving him a C plus, which I really think is a D on his car. And, mind you, I'm already looking at my plan's messed up for today. And, I'm going to try to make it work, but I don't know if it's going to work. But I already know my plans are just messed up all the way for today. So then we're going back and forth arguing over this check that he says, that he worked last week. And he said, hey, you didn't pay me well that last week. And I was like, okay, well, that's what you worked. And because of that, he was upset. I'm like, okay, the first week you got over 600. The second week you only worked 8-10 hours. You got 200. And this week you're already up towards to $700. So to me, I didn't see any problem with what he was getting paid, but obviously he had a problem. But see, I'm not a mind reader. Sometimes you got to be explicit with with your thoughts. You can't really think I'm a mind reader and I know you got a problem with something last week. We could have talked about that last week when I gave you the check. And when I gave him the check, I was like, bro, this is for the hours that you worked. And he said, okay, cool. Had no problem. But all of a sudden when he got a C plus on his car, all of a sudden he had a problem with the check. So basically, he has an attitude and then he pretty much walks off the job. And, before he even walked off, he was having all this attitude talking about, man, people think I'm dumb talking, just because I got tattoos, but people don't understand, I graduated high school with a 3.2 GPA. People over here trying to play me like I'm dumb. I'm like, okay, I'm not trying to play you like you dumb. You know what I mean? And I don't care about the tattoos, but obviously this is one of his insecurities. I don't know who's been telling him that, but he's like, nah, man, people think I'm dumb. Man. Then he turned around like, man, I need to own my own motherfucking business. I'm like, oh, man, this guy just don't get it, And he ended up leaving based on that misunderstanding, in the middle of the day, based on, I don't know if it's because he got a bad grade on the car or, his pay from the previous week. But, if you didn't earn it, then why are you mad? And I feel like this is the issue when you have a person with an impoverished mind, because they don't really get it. You know what I mean? They want to complain about the non-issue, like he doesn't want to talk about the hours and the work that he didn't do. But he wants to talk about what he expected to get paid for work that he didn't do. So again, it frustrated me. And again, because I'm trying to provide this level of consistency and convenience to the customer, I went ahead and I jumped in and did the work that was on his calendar so I could make sure that the customers don't see an interruption with their service. And this is why I like when people say, hey, you should go, you should expand here and you should expand there, to different cities and states and all that. And, it works, but it's just not all the way there yet. You know what I mean? Because things like this happen and I have to jump in. And, it just makes it to where it's that much harder to expand. Like it's hard for me to scale when I have these surprise parties every day. You know what I mean? And I want you to be able to avoid bringing these impoverished minds into your life. You know what I mean? Because these people will drain you of all your resources. And I want to tell you the signs. The first way that a person with a poor-minded person comes to you, because look, when I hire, I try to hire based on who's right for this position. Design of the position is this. Who's right for this position? But what ends up happening is that sometimes I would hire with my heart, right? Which is a downside. Hiring with your heart and bringing somebody on, that you shouldn't really bring on, but you feel bad for them. You know what I mean? You feel like, maybe you should help them out because, it looks like, life's been, hasn't been on their side. You know what I mean? Like it's been a little hard on them. So, the first sign is a person who comes in desperate. And desperation is the first sign that I see, they're desperate for your money. They're desperate for whatever opportunity you got. And they will take that opportunity and take advantage of you, because it always happens, because they're super desperate. They're tapped out of all their resources, and they come to you, and they tap into your compassion for them, and they put you in a position where you feel, let me just help this person out. You know what I mean? That's how you feel. Like, let me just help this person out, and these are the people who so desperate for this job that they call you and they call you consistently, and they're bothering you about, like, they're following up. But, a lot of times this is all like a front. It's just basically a front, and you should look at these things and you should not be seduced by them, because look, when you tap into my compassion, like, man, Michael, I really want this job. I'm gonna go hard. I got experience. I got all this, you gotta watch out for these red flags that come up with how desperate they are, and, for this job, but basically, this guy, when a person comes in, super desperate, that's sign number one, maybe you should wait before you put that person to your business, that's a really bad sign. Second, you don't usually see this until you hire them. When they get their first big check, or when they get their tax refund, you can see how bad their spending habits are. You know what I mean? They get that first good paycheck. A person with a poor-minded person, first thing they buy, Jordans, rims for their car, a grill, or go to the Gucci store. Those are the main places that they go when they get their first big check. I mean, look, I'm telling you, this one guy I hired, this guy named Chuck, and he got his first big check with me, right? So at this time for him, this is $500. He took that $500 and then he went to go buy a cash car with it. This guy didn't come into work for a week because he spent all of his money on the car, didn't even have enough money for gas. And I said, I called him the first day. I said, why aren't you at work? What's going on? You're supposed to be here at 8. He says, I don't have any gas money. I was like, okay, borrow from somebody. Sorry. I'm trying not to cough, but it got me. But I was like, okay, where are you at? You're supposed to be here. He's like, I don't have any gas. I'm like, okay, how you not have any gas? You just got paid, right? Then you didn't have nothing for gas? He said, nah, I didn't think I was going to run out of gas so soon. I was like, so why don't you take a bus? He's like, because I have a car. Okay, that don't make no sense. You already bro, these things, it doesn't make any sense to me, And so his first big check, he buys that, that car, and didn't come in for a week because he didn't have enough gas money. And I know this doesn't sound real, but these are the things that people tell me. These are the reasons why I'm telling you that you need to avoid these people as much as possible, because these are the same people who say, Michael, I'll go so hard for you, These are the people who say, like who come in the first day of work and go super hard. But then after that, and the dust settles, they start coming in late, you start seeing all the loose ends with them. And basically, yeah. So, when they get their first big check, they blow it on something dumb. They get a grill, something to show people around them that they got money, or, buy like like I told you, some Jordans or something Gucci or something like that. Really dumb decisions with their money, right? One guy I had, I want to say his name so bad, but he had a 2002 Honda Accord. Mind you, this car, probably cash car, about $3,500. This guy spent $2,700 on rims for it. I'm like, bro, you spent $2,700 on rims? He's like, Mike, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna tell you this, Mike. See, you use your money a little bit differently. See, I like to see my money, Mike. I like to enjoy my money. I was like, enjoy your money. He's like, yeah, I like to enjoy my. See, I don't like to just keep it in the bank, Mike. I like to enjoy it because you only have one life to live. I was like, but yet you don't have a savings. You want to make sure you have a savings. He's like, oh, I still got a little something, but I just want to make sure that I enjoy my money. I like when I see those rims on that car, it makes me know, that's inspiration to others. Just letting people know that if you work hard in your life, this is what you could do for yourself. Again, that's the mindset. And, since then, and then that person who bought those rims, on his first, major check, I've learned from these situations of hiring, and I said, let me just get away from it, but, so the first sign, desperation. When they're super desperate, stay away. Don't hire them. I don't care how desperate you are for an employee or desperate you are for a person in your life, but don't bring them in. That's a danger sign. Second, your spending habits. When they have bad habits like that, stay away. Stay away because they're going to drain you of everything. Have you ever had somebody ask you for money and you're thinking, why don't you ask your family? Why don't you ask your friends? You don't even know me. You're asking me for money. They're like, oh, they don't want to give me money anymore. It's like, okay, if you tapped out of your resources with your family and your friends, now you're asking a stranger for money. Red flag. And the last sign of an impoverished mind is when someone's irrational, and the way that when someone's irrational, there's usually the easy sign of them not giving a fuck, when they don't care, when a person just doesn't make sense, it's just so irrational. Like they again, like I told you with the guy Kevin who walked off the job mid-job, messing up the plans that I had, which always happens. He was mad talking about, he had a baby that week and all these different type of excuses to why he couldn't come into work. But then he expected a large check or what he would get had he come into work. And I can't pay you for something you didn't do. That's just irrational. That's not the business I'm in. But yet, I guess maybe they think, maybe I'm foolish enough to say, hey, you know what? This guy has a hard life. Let me go ahead and bless him real quick. But that doesn't happen. That's not going to happen. But yeah, that is what happened with my employee. And so he quit midday. I didn't have time to prepare. And that night, I'm supposed to go up. Now, I'm trying to hurry up and prepare all these things within hours right before. And I'm just preparing myself for a disaster, And I try not to let life happen to me sometimes, but you can't fight it, And life happened that day. And I had to put my best game face on because, I couldn't go to the comedy club and just be like, oh, this happened, early in the day and I haven't been able to prepare. It just sounds like pure excuses. But right now what you're hearing is really transparency because this is what happens. It had these little hiccups that happened during the day and you just have to put your best foot forward. While I had people who were going to come see me, I knew that I wasn't fully prepared, and I want you all to hear, how it went for me. Hopefully I could, I don't even know if it's going to play it. Oh man, I was going to play it, but I don't know what happened. Well, sorry about that. It was supposed to connect to my phone, but it's not connected. But yeah, so that night I went up and the first joke I knew, and I completely forgot the joke, right? The first joke was, who told women that giving head fixes everything? Because first off, it does, right? Because it really does. And when I went up on stage, I said, who told women that giving head, this is how I was saying it, that giving head solves everything? And I was just quiet. I couldn't remember. And then I said, it does. And it was okay, And then after that, I told a story about, um, a priest and a bishop. It's talking about how the priest asked the bishop, is it okay if I smoke while I pray? The bishop said no. And, that smoking's not natural. You shouldn't do that. And then he came back the next day to another head bishop and he said, is it okay if I pray while I smoke? And he said, yes. Praying while smoking, pray, the more prayer, the better. And I learned at that time that, the way that you ask something determines, your outcome, your result, and I took that in the 6th grade and I asked the teacher, I said, if I get upset, can I use the word, pho? And she said, pho? I said, yeah, PHO, like the Vietnamese dish. And she said, sure. And then when she passed me my bad grade, I was like, fuck, man, fuck, man, fuck, man, fuck. And that was my joke. And it didn't go very well. And after I got off stage, because I made one more joke about, how to get richer. And, if you want to get richer, do what I do and stop paying your bills. And I knew I didn't do very well. And I got off stage and, I saw, my the people who I asked to come. And I was like, I already knew it wasn't good because they were avoiding even talking about me being on stage, right? So I already knew, in my head that morning woke up, I was like, man, when they see what I have prepared, they're going to think I'm the next Richard Pryor, bro. They're going to think that I'm, like at that level, and they're going to be like, man, Mike, you're the next Dave Chappelle. But, I was humbled because I got off stage and I was like, we were just kind of chit-chatting. I was like, so what'd y'all think? And the first answer was, he's like, just, when you get on stage, just be yourself, man. I was like, man, that's not good. But, it's okay. I just know that was on me because I shouldn't even prepare for something day of. It just shows that I should be more prepared, for these type of occasions, for things to happen. But, that's how life goes sometimes, and, so far, everything's been good. Life is good. Life is great. The thing I'm working on right now is that I have to, at the barber school, you might already know, but when my 2 boys, when they were born, they got, received gifts, cash gifts and things like that from friends and family. And we took that money and used it to buy them a Coke machine and a snack machine, a vending machine. And we put that vending machine and that Coke machine in the barber school. And that was to really help fund, their future. And so far they've been doing pretty well, right? Usually they're probably making somewhere about, $5,500 a year, with that vending machine, profit wise, right? So that all goes into their college fund and all that. And when they're old enough, they're gonna, also manage that Coke machine and that vending machine, right? For both boys. And most of I told you about the construction being 90% done, for the upgrades that we're making to the barber school. And we moved the Coke machine and we moved the vending machine. And somewhere during that move, the bill acceptor, the dollar bill acceptor to the vending machine went out, and that messes with the consistency of their money, right? And it's been about a week and I've been meaning to get that taken care of. But man, this brings me to like the peripherals of your business, or the peripherals of a decision that you make, like those little small details and the maintenance issues that you got to prepare for. You have to make time for those things. And, That's the next thing on the agenda is that I got to get someone to fix that bill collector because, if it's not easy for you to put dollars in, they're not going to make the bread. They're not going to make the bread. You know what I mean? And I want them to be able to do well. And I want, I don't want it to be where people are inconvenienced not being able to put their dollars in. So, that little small thing as little as, a cash acceptor and a vending machine drops the amount that they make, by about like 35%. Think about it. People have dollars, they don't have coins on them, but my voice is starting to go out and I don't want to keep coughing and do anything like that on this podcast. Thank you for bearing with me. I really do appreciate you. If you do have any questions for me, please send them my way. And also, if you know anybody who might benefit, to this podcast, I really appreciate, you if you share with a friend, recommend it to somebody, leave a review, anything just to, help support, this is something I truly enjoy. I'm glad I'm able to be here with you all every single week, providing you with some fresh new content of what's going on in the mind of Michael Agbajan. And I look to do better, but I hope that, not only my voice, I hope it didn't affect this episode 007 because I gave it my all, you know what I mean? And I look forward, to seeing you next week and to speaking with you. And just remember that no matter what, that I love you. See you later. Bye. As a last note, if you're ever looking to gain confidence, what you must do is to keep trying and never stop.